us today for this webinar presented by the Michigan Department of Secretary of State on the Electronic Lien and Title Program, or the ELT. On March 16th, 2021, the Michigan Department of State will be initiating this ELT program. This webinar will explain this program in detail and the role banks will play in the process. I want to give a shout out to Dave Richmond, Department Specialist of the Office of Program Support, as he was instrumental in making sure this webinar was presented to the MBA members. Some housekeeping issues. I just want to ask that you put your questions in the chat room, as you will be muted during this presentation. For those of you who may be on the phone, if you can email sfisher@mibankers.com, Stephanie will make sure to bring up these questions at the end of the program. Also let you know, we're going to be recording this and Stephanie will send out the link and post this on our website. So I'm pleased to announce the two presenters to you today. We have James Fackler, who is the Director of the Office of Program Support for the Michigan Department of State. His office helps with the development and implementation of new programs, including new legislative initiatives. His office is heading the department's Legacy Modernization Program, which includes the development of this ELT project. Ashley Finstead is the Change Management Lead on the Secretary of State's CARS program. She works for Fast Enterprises, the vendor developing the new Secretary of State system. So with that, I turn it over to James and Ashley.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys being able to line this up. Kind of feel like I've been doing sort of a sales pitch here, but part of this is sales pitch, and part of this is also to give you an opportunity once we do go live for your members to know who you need to talk to if there's some situation or there's something that you want to look at further. You can follow up with my team so that we can help give you, the best results and support we can. Most of this presentation is going to be Ashley, I'll tell you, because you don't want to see me try to fumble through the demonstration, because she actually knows how the system works, and I'm just the guy who's going to kick it off here. So as Deb said, we're in the middle of our system modernization. Next slide. We have spent the last 3 years and 3/4 years going through system modernization. In February of 19, we launched our vehicle portion of the CARS project, and the CARS project is our new system in which we're going to be providing services to the public and fulfilling our core DMV functions for the state of Michigan. The second part of our system goes live March 16 of 21, as Deb said, and that's going to handle the driver side of our business. But at the release of that, we're also going to be adding the system that we're going to be talking to you about today, the program we're going to talk to you today about. Next slide. And that is the ELT system. So, what is the ELT system? So in essence, it's an electronic exchange of lien and title information between MDOS, the dealers, financial institutions, and lien holders. I know many of you probably have sister banks in other states and have seen this in other states, and so hopefully ours is going to be fairly similar, but there are some uniquenesses inherent in the state of Michigan. So this will be, the system will allow participating jurisdictions to prevent the printing of a title when there's a lien, when that title record is held electronically for a participating financial institution. Next slide. And so in the easiest terms, the program will, today we print a title whether it has a lien or not. Going forward, the title record will be held electronically, even if there's one lien holder that's a participant of the program, in situations where there might be 2 liens on a particular title. MDOS will be the official record holder for that information, and the ELT system will eventually be required for all financial institutions doing business in the state of Michigan. Now, obviously, there's some qualifiers in there, and we'll talk about that. Next slide. The obvious benefits of this is to lessen title fraud. If we don't have paper, then we don't get those fraudulent lien releases that we see today. And if it is required of the financial institution to release the lien electronically, they're in control of making sure that's done. And then obviously you have your security processes involved in how you implement your system at your businesses. So the customers would no longer need to go to the Secretary of State to receive the lien-free title. We'll mail it to you once the lien is paid off and satisfied. This system will also easily allow financial institutions, dealers, and individuals to verify and track liens. And we're going to show you a whole bunch of these things. Well, Ashley's going to show you a bunch of these things and walk through the different functionality and different screens so that you know what you're going to be getting. This will eliminate the need for lien releases, on paper or signing the title. You'll be doing it in the system. You won't have to go through that whole process of replacing lien releases, which also got lost in the mail this last year. I think many of us have experienced that lost in the mail problem. And again, that duplicate title process will become fairly insignificant. Today, it's a huge piece of what happens at our branches and our in-house units. Next page. Next slide. So how can one participate as a financial institution in the ELT process? So there basically will be two ways that a bank or other financial institution can sign up. One is going directly through e-services, so that you make the application directly to us, and your bank handles all those transactions themselves through our system. The other is going through a service provider. At launch, we're going to have two different service providers. One is DealerTrack and the other one is DDI. There are a number of other service providers nationally, and we'll start filtering those on and adding those into the system over the next year. Part of that's dependent on expressed interest of people, as well as our capacity to add new service providers. Next slide. So for those of you who aren't familiar, a service provider is a third-party company that basically will handle all the ELT-related functions for your financial institution. The service provider will update and release the liens electronically on behalf of the institution. So instead of directly coming into us, you'll be going through them, and then they will then update our system through our direct connect to those particular service providers. In the case of a financial institution that chooses to go through a service provider, they're going to register directly with the service provider and not with the department. Again, we have a direct connection with these two service providers right now and have set up processes on how we bring those financial institutions online. Next slide. So what are the key pieces that you're going to see with the ELT activity? The first is each financial institution is going to be provided a unique ID number for electronic lien holder. So your individual financial institution will be given a specific number that will do a number of things. One, it will guarantee that we have the right address and the right name. And two, it will help us make sure that the the dealers and the individuals getting financing provide the correct information to us so that we can make sure that your lien information is put into your account appropriately. So the financial institution or service provider will be able to complete the following activities in the system. So you can be able to release a lien, you'll be able to delete a lien if there's an error. You'll be able to change a lien filing date, so basically refinancing with the same financial institution. And again, limited circumstances, you would be able to request an actual duplicate title with you as a lien holder to print in certain limited circumstances, such as they're moving out of state. And I'm sure there's a few other different unique circumstances that you'll have to see yourself in. Financial institutions will be notified through e-services of the service provider anytime we add or remove a lien from a title and when a title is corrected. So like I said, Ash is going to show you, what these screens look like and how your account will look and what kind of information will be available on an account. Next page. So one of the key things that we want to do as we move forward with our system is clean up some of the problems that we have today. One of those things is, and I'm sure your institution has noticed this, there may be times where your name is listed incorrectly or there's an error in your address. Part of that's a keying area on the department. Part of that is a keying area, error on the part of the dealership. And so we're going to be giving you a unique ID number. And so that unique ID number is what will be required to put into the system on the title application. One of the things that we're going to do is not have a lookup. Part of the issue we have, again, with those spelling errors and those address errors comes from people looking them up and then grabbing the wrong one. So this is going to be incumbent on the financial institution to provide that number directly to the customer, whether it's an individual or a dealership, to make sure that we have the correct lien holder and that your information is entered correctly. You'll be able to search for a vehicle title. So, in the world today, we have paper everywhere. As we slowly go through this next year, you'll start to see some of that paper come out, and dealers and financial institutions will have to know, okay, am I supposed to see paper for this one? Am I supposed to see this one electronically? And so there'll be a lookup feature online in which you can actually get the information of what would be on a title, and it would tell whether it's been printed or whether it is still held electronically. So that'll be information for you and the dealer and the individual to help validate what we've done. You'll have a list of vehicles financed with your institution. So you'll be able to pull up your account and it'll have, like I said, the information that would normally be on a title directly available to you, which hopefully will be of a benefit in reconciliation of records. I know we've heard over the last year, people have or haven't completed their lien placement. Sometimes they just haven't followed up with you. Sometimes they haven't done it. And this will be a tool in which you'll be able to actually validate that the lien has been placed and the data has been done. Again, no duplicate or instant expedient titles will be processed for electronically held titles, again, under those narrow circumstances where we'll, at your request, print those duplicate titles. And once an electronic lien is released, we'll print and mail the title off to the vehicle owner. Now, there will be an opportunity to have it go to a special address in the case of a situation where you need to go to an insurance company for some sort of, total loss claim, or a dealership if the dealer is assuming the title. Again, Ashley will show you some of those things. Next slide. And with that, I'll turn it over to Ashley, and this is really what you've come to see, and I'll go to mute.
Okay, hi everyone. So today I am going to show you a couple, like James said, a couple electronic lien and title activities that you can do on e-services. And before I get started, I do want to go over a couple things. This is being performed in our training environment. So the screens and the development that you see today may slightly change before we roll out on March 16th, 2021. Also, all the information that you will see today is fake and for demonstration purposes only. So with that, let's get started. Currently, we're on the home page for e-services. So the first thing I'm going to do is show you how to apply to participate in an ELT program with the thought that you won't go through a service provider. So I'm going to show you how to apply through e-services. So the first thing I'm going to do is just scroll down to our additional services panel. And in this panel, the business services panel, we have the lien holder services hyperlink. Once we select that hyperlink, we are brought to another screen that has two options, and what we want to do is the electronic lien holder application, because we want to apply to be electronic lien holder. So we have opened up our lien holder application activity. Now, one thing you're going to notice with these services is we're going to walk you through each step of the process. It's meant to be super intuitive, not something that you need training on. The whole point of e-services is to walk you through the process with very little guidance. You will see there are red asterisks. So when you see that, that means a field is required. So you must enter information or make a selection before you move on to the next section. So here it says, is your organization affiliated with a service provider? If we select yes, you'll see we get an error message that says, please submit this application through your service provider's online account. So this is only for people who are financial institutions that are not going through service providers. So we do put that stop up front to make sure we're not getting any applications erroneously. So we're going to say no. And once we say no, we have more fields available for us. It's going to ask us what's our legal business name, and we are going to put ABC Bank. And it's going to ask, is our legal business name different than the name on the title? So if it is different, we will have another field to put what the name would appear on the title, but it's not, so we'll select no. And then we will enter our FEIN, or our federal employer ID number. So we will put in our number here. If we do have a corporate ID, we can put that in, but that is not required. You see there's no red asterisk there. Then we'll put in our phone type, our phone number, and then also our email. And then once we've entered in all of our information, we can move on to the next section by selecting the next button. In here, it's going to ask for our physical address. So what is the physical address of our location? So I'm going to put in our address. And then enter in our city, which is Diamondale, and our zip code. And then I'm going to select this verify address button. What this is doing is verifying the address that you enter in here with the United States Postal Service to ensure that that is a verified address with the Postal Service. And this is just another check that we put in here to make sure that any mail that we do send to you gets to you. We have another question that asks, is our mailing address different than our physical address? And we will select yes and move on to the next section. Here we can put in our address for our mailing address. So we will put in P.O. Box 14033 in Lansing and our zip code of 48901. And then we can select the verify address again to verify that the address is valid, and we can move on to our next screen by selecting the next button. So here this is just asking what address we wish to specify, or what address you wish to have printed on all the documents that get sent to you or sent to an individual. So we have the option of choosing our physical address or our mailing address, and we can just select our mailing address and move on to the next section. So here, this is the individual information. So this is the individual who is entering this information. So who is applying to be the electronic lien holder on behalf of the bank. So it's going to ask what the title of the person is, and we're going to say they're the business manager, and the first name is Patty, and the middle name is Anderson. And here, this is us certifying that the information above is correct. And then it's going to ask for the director above. So who is the director or the CEO of the financial institution? So I'm going to put in the title of the director. I'm going to put in the name. Frank Brown. And then again, we're just certifying that the above information is correct and that you do have the approval of your financial institution to apply as a lien holder. So we'll select that checkbox to certify. And then we'll move on to the next section. Here we will upload our access forms. So in order to get the access to our e-services, you are going to be getting access to vehicle records or customer records. So we require you to fill out an access form. So to do that, we will select to attach the file or the access form, we'll select the select file hyperlink and then the choose file button. And then we will just select the file that is our access form. Once we see that green check mark, we know that the file has been uploaded successfully and we can move on to the next section. And then here is our ELT certification page. It just, it goes through all of the things that we require that someone who's going to be accessing this information to certify that they will provide the correct VIN or FEIN. You're only searching for this data for business purposes, not for personal benefit or anything like that. So we do give you those terms for you to read over. And once you have agreed, you'll select the I certify checkbox and then move on to the next section. And then we're brought to the summary page. Here it gives you a quick overview of the things you have entered during your during the application. So we have the bank name, the physical address, and the mailing address. If we have to change any of the information that we entered, we can select this previous button here, or we can select any of the hyperlinks in this outline here and move us to that section. We can make our changes and then finally submit our application. All of our information looks correct, so we'll select submit. And this brings us to our confirmation page where we are given a confirmation number for our submission. So what happens now is that a unit within the Michigan Department of State will review your application, make sure that you're a certified financial institution, and then you will be approved with either approved or denied depending on the status to be entered in the ELT program. Once you are approved, you will receive a letter on how to set up your account on e-services so that you can start performing those actions on e-services. So I'm going to navigate back to the home page of e-services by selecting this Michigan Department of State hyperlink, and now I'm back to the home page. So now we're going to change gears, and I'm going to now demonstrate how to release an electronic lien using e-services. So as a financial institution, once I'm approved as a financial institution, I would log in using my login. For today's purposes, I will be using a testing tool to log in. So I'm going to just scroll down to our testing tools panel and then simulate our my login. So this is me right now logging in as a actual financial institution. We already got approved. Our application already got approved. We set up our account and we are ready to go. And it looks like I just need to type in the right username. So give me 1 second. Looks like I have fat fingers today, so this should work. So once I'm logged in as a lien holder or financial institution, you'll see my name up at the top. So we do have US Bank at the top and our address. We have different tabs and tabs here available to us. The one really important thing to note is that in this middle here, we can see a lien holder ID that starts with an LH. So this is the unique number that the state of Michigan will assign to you. And that's the number you would put or provide to the customers or dealerships to put on the titling application so that this vehicle gets linked to your name or your financial institution and displays as the lien holder. So that lien holder ID, it always starts with an LH, will display here for you. We also see any balances that are associated with any transactions that you have done or any balances that are associated with your account. So you're going to see that when you release liens or through refinancing, a dollar lien fee could be charged. You can see how much you owe here. So I'm going to walk through what some of these activities that you can do, which display on the right-hand side here. And then I'll go over, I'll actually show you how to do some transactions. So the first one, the release a lien. So if you are an electronic lien holder on a title that's held electronically, you can release your lien on e-services. If you need to change the electronic lien filing date, so this can be in terms of refinancing, you can do that here. If you need to print an electronic title, so that's in the same way, or that's what James was talking about in those limited circumstances. You know, a customer is moving out of state and needs that title so they can title their vehicle in another state. You can print the title. Search for a title. So if you want to search for a title before you refinance, let's say before you refinance a vehicle, you want to do some research, see if there's any brand, see who the current lien holder, the ownership information, you can search for a title. We do have more options here. So if we select the more hyperlink, you'll see that we have an option to delete a lien. So if a lien was placed in error, you can delete it. And someone from the state of Michigan will review your delete to see who needs to be on the title. Account managers will have the ability to add and remove users. So if someone gets hired, you can add a user. Someone leaves your financial institution, you can remove their access. The list of electronic liens, so this will show you a list of liens that are electronic liens that are in your name, or vehicles or titles that have you as a lien holder electronically will display here. List of recent electronic lien releases, so this will give you a list of any lien releases you have done in the past 2 weeks, and then you have this managed bank accounts. You will see how this will play in just a moment, but you do have the ability to put in your bank account information here so that you can, when you get charged a fee, you can have it automatically, or you can have it withdraw from your bank account. So I'm going to go back to our main page by selecting the US Bank hyperlink up top. And I'm going to do our first activity, which is to do a lien release. So I'm going to select the release lien hyperlink. And once we select that, the electronic lien release activity opens. And again, this activity will walk you through the process of releasing a lien. So again, the red asterisk means that the fields are required. It's asking what type of vehicle is this lien on, a vehicle or watercraft. We can select vehicle, and then it's going to ask us to enter in the VIN. So I am going to enter in our VIN and select the next button. And then it's going to take us to our next page. So here we do give you the year, make, model, and body style of the vehicle, of the VIN you just entered, the owner and the owner's address, and the lien filing date. We do provide this so that you can verify that the VIN that you just entered wasn't fat-fingered, wasn't miskeyed. As you can tell earlier, I had some troubles keying in my login earlier. This is one of the reasons why we put in these checks, is to make sure that you're not accidentally releasing a lien from a vehicle that shouldn't be. So it's going to ask you, is this vehicle correct? And you'll say yes. And then it's going to ask you what your lien release date is. So I'm going to put 1/19/21. It will ask us if this is a refinance. This is not, so we can select no. If it is, it will ask for more information. And then it asks, would you like to change the title mailing address? So let's say this person now lives in a different state, or they're snowbirds and they want the title mailed to their address in Florida or Arizona. You do have the option to send the title, change the title mailing address to whatever the customer needs it to be, or the dealer or the insurance company, whatever the case may be. So we'll select no to changing the title mailing address and then move on to the next section by selecting next. So then we're taken to our fee section. So like I mentioned earlier, $1 lien holder fee is charged. So anytime a lien is added or removed from a record, $1 will be charged. So you'll see that $1 is being charged. And we can select the next button. And here is where we have our summary screen. This is, again, one last check to make sure you enter the VIN correctly. This is the correct vehicle, owner, and address we want to release the lien from. If everything is correct, we can select the submit button. So once we select the submit button, we're taken to the items page. This is just our launching page. Before we launch you into taking the payment, we're just letting you know you owe us $1. You have two options. You can check out, so you can pay your $1 right now, or you can select the I have more to do before I check out button. What this would do is this will allow you, it's kind of like a shopping cart. You can select I have more to do, process more lien releases if you have some. Maybe you have a stack of lien releases you have to do for today, and you want to only make one payment at the end of your stack. You can select that, keep selecting that until you're at the end, and then do one big payment. That's up to you. But for today's demo, we're just going to select the checkout button. And here we are taken to our payment method option. So you can either pay by credit card or by checking account. This is where, if you did have a bank information or banking account saved on your record, you wouldn't have to go through this section. You can just confirm the transaction and it will get charged to your bank account. If you do decide to use your credit card, you will be charged a credit card processing fee. Since we are in our training environment, we will simulate our e-services payment and then select OK. Once our page gets reset or refreshes, we'll see that our status is processed. So that means we have submitted this activity, this lien release, it's processed, and everything's paid. We do have the option to print a receipt if we want. Otherwise, we can go back to our lien holder actions that we can do on e-services by selecting the USA Bank hyperlink. So the next thing I want to show you is I want to show that lien release that we just did and how it displays in our report that we provide on e-services. So if we select that more hyperlink and then select the list recent electronic lien releases hyperlink, this will display that 2018 Ford Fusion that we just released. Here we can see the title number, the VIN, the vehicle details, so the year, make, model, body style, odometer, the title assignment, the filing date, and then the release date. So as you can imagine, you can use this if you have that stack of lien releases that you have to do. At the end of your stack of lien releases, you can come here and just do a double check and verify that you have released all the correct liens. We're going to go back to our list of electronic lien and title actions by selecting the lien holder actions hyperlink. And now I want to show you another tool that is available to you guys, and that's the ability to search for a title. So this will be particularly useful when you want to do a refinance, before you refinance a vehicle, you want to know the details of the vehicle, and if that customer doesn't have that paper title to provide to you, this is one way you can do that. So I am going to go back one more page by selecting the US Bank hyperlink, and now selecting the search for a title hyperlink. So here it's going to ask us what our vehicle type is. Is it a vehicle or watercraft? It is a vehicle, and then we can enter in the VIN. Once we select search, we can see the Michigan title information, vehicle information, ownership information, and then the lien holder information. So within each, we provide the title number, the most recent title number, the title issue date, and then you're going to see this checkbox here, electronic title. If this is selected, this indicates that the title is electronic. If it's not selected, that means the title is paper, so you should be expecting a paper title in your hands. Below is your vehicle information, so you have your year, make, and model, body style, the MSRP, some other details. You also can see vehicle brands here. Scrolling down, we can see the ownership information, so the name of the owner and the address that that owner lives or where that vehicle is domiciled. And beneath here, we can see the lien holder information, if there is any. So here we know that this 2017 Ford is financed currently through the Dynamic Auto Credit Union. And you can see that information here. If there was two lien holders on here, it will display the second lien holder and then show second secured party. Okay, I'm going to go back to my list, and one of the last things I want to show you is viewing a list of electronic liens where you are the electronic lien holder. So I'm going to select the More hyperlink, and then select the List Electronic Liens hyperlink. And this will show you all the titles where you are electronic lien holder on it. You can see you have VIN, title number, make, model, year. We do have this filter icon here where it presents a filter bar. So if you're looking for a particular person, let's say I'm looking particularly for all the vehicles that Jerry Young has us as a lien holder, you can type in Young and it will filter. And we can see we have the Ford, a Honda, and a Buick. If we select this View Details hyperlink here, we can see more vehicle information or more information about this title. So just like our search that I just showed you, you get the title number, the title issue date, and whether the title is electronic. You get the title the vehicle information, the ownership information, and we can see here that US Bank is the lien holder. So that's some of the main things that I wanted to show you today. I'm going to jump back to our PowerPoint and do a quick recap of everything we just talked about. So a title is going to be held electronically if a lien is electronic. So even if there's two lien holders on a title, even if one's electronic, regardless of their position, that title will be electronic. Participation in the ELT program will eventually be mandatory. Financial institutions have two ways to sign up for the ELT program. They either can go through a service provider or sign up through e-services, which is what I demonstrated today. That lien holder ID, that LH number that I pointed out earlier, that ID must be provided on all proper documentation in order for that title to enter the ELT program. And finally, financial institutions must release electronic liens themselves. So there's very rare cases where the state of Michigan will release an electronic lien, but if you are a lien holder and you are electronic, you must release that lien on e-services or through your service provider. Again, this program goes into effect on March 16th, 2021. And I'm sure you guys have a load of questions. So what questions do you have?
Thank you, Ashley. So I'm going through here. So I think first question I saw about mobile homes. So this is going to be for vehicles, and vehicles are automobiles as well as trailers. So you're going to have trailer coaches and utility trailers, and then watercraft. Mobile homes will not be part of the system at launch. It is one of the items I know that is desired, and that we've had conversations with credit unions as well as the banks. So we're going to bring the questions up. I'm trying to read in the chat here. Next question. The financial institution would be responsible for giving the dealership the lien holder ID number. I know today you go to a dealership and they'll have that little cheat sheet with the different financial institutions that they do business with, and basically going to be covering, that by making sure that they have the correct lien holder ID. Let's see, next question. Record sales. I mean, you'd be going through record sales for searches on titles, most likely for mobile homes or historical record information, for legal purposes, if you're going to get into a situation of repossession or some sort of historical analysis, you're still going to be going through record sales. This would only give you the most current title record. So if there's anything beyond that, that current title record, or you need the documents supporting that title transfer, you'd have to go through record sales still. I did see someone respond to access forms. We'll be providing those shortly. Motorcycles are included in that motor vehicle. Let's see. If we have access to e-services already, do we need to resubmit those forms for all users with current access? That is a question we should write down and follow up with, because I don't know the answer to that one. To be candid. That one's about access forms. Something about invoicing monthly versus paying each time. So once to write that question down, we can follow back up. This system has really been designed to do single point. But I know that there are other options with some of the other features that you do. But we'll get you a specific answer to that question. That's Kelly Leonard. Can you set up an account with payment method options, checking, or do you have to do it each time? Maybe Ashley can answer that one. I think that's something that you're mute.
So if you add I wanted to make sure I'm answering the question correctly, but if you set up a bank account, that will set up an EFT account for you so that it will be charged to that EFT account, so you don't have to pay by credit card each time.
So if you set up a checking account once, it's good.
Yep.
Until you change it.
Correct.
Again, a monthly billing. Again, we'll follow up with that. When will it be mandatory? So with everything, the law says it's mandatory, but the reality is it's going to take us a while to onboard everybody. And that's the part of it's mandatory, but it will take a bit of time. So depending on how quickly we can onboard everybody, and depending on how quickly and sort of the marketplace, because there may be some that are choosing to wait until a different particular service provider is available. Let's say I use a different service provider in another state, a bank in multiple states, and your company uses a particular service provider that isn't there. We understand that some may wait until that service provider comes back online. Others It's just going to be a matter of time to onboard everyone. We're not sure quite how quickly we're going to get them. I can't remember the actual number of institutions that are writing that are lien holders in Michigan, but I know the number we have is higher than it actually is, because we have obviously duplicates, misspellings of names, wrong addresses, and so one particular lien holder, I think, had like 100 different variations on the spelling of their name. I would say probably over the next year, everyone would be moving to mandatory. Again, it's going to be a situation of us tracking down individuals that are choosing to not file their forms and getting them online, because I think most people will try and get on in a reasonable amount of time. Today, we are not planning on converting existing paper titles to electronic. Obviously, that would occur if you did a refinancing situation. It would then get transferred to electronic. Obviously, that's contingent upon the finance institution being on board. So it kind of goes back to that mandatory question. If you don't get on board till July, any title work you do between now and July would still be paper. So just to say that out loud. Again, there's another question about transferring paper to electronic. Will the bank account have the same account information as UCC filings? Chris Kubiak, did I pronounce that right? And maybe someone wants to clarify what you're asking so I can help you.
So is it that you have a UCC account, an EFT account for your UCC filing account on the SOS website? Because if you do, then you wouldn't have to have a separate one for ELT. When you log into your e-services, if your ELT account and your UCC account are linked to you, you'll see both on one screen, and you'll be able to use that there.
Maybe someone can go through chat to see if we answered the question. Private party sales. So this is one of those tricky ones, because obviously there are going to be a couple different pieces. So one piece is going to be, is it a situation where the individual selling the vehicle is selling to a person who is also getting a lien? As I said before, once the lien has been satisfied, a title would be printed. So obviously this is contingent upon the title record being held electronically and they're not being paper today. So this is some point forward in after March, right? There's an option to have that title printed and mailed to a different location. So if that individual is getting a lien added, obviously the financial institution could request that that title get mailed to the financial institution that's doing the new loan. That would probably be the safest way if you were the one financing it, to make sure that all the reassignments get done properly and that the new owner fulfills the lien holder obligations by filing the paperwork to get the title transferred and the lien placed on the system. I know this is an issue that the credit unions are also particularly concerned about, because obviously there is going to be a delay. We're sort of looking at some of the options related to printing as a way of speeding that up. Some of the conversations we are having with at least the auto dealers, which probably relate to this, would be printing at the local branch as a way of speeding up the delivery of the paper title. But we haven't at this point locked on the best solution or a list of solutions to help that casual sale transaction with multiple financial institutions involved. Correct. So there's part of the second question is, do you still have to take it to the SOS? So you'd still have to file the paperwork to transfer ownership at the branch. Would this be available on new vehicle purchases on March 19th? There will be some financial institutions that will be live on March 19th. There's only the ones that are going through a service provider, as well as the ones that sort of we're testing with. There's a handful of institutions that we are piloting with, and so you probably won't see it more until around June, where we start onboarding everyone that's kind of filed paperwork after March, and as we get them going into the system and our system stabilizes. Sleds, a question about sleds. So I believe that's snowmobiles. So snowmobiles don't have a title, so they would not be utilized in this process. Side-by-sides, you're talking about ORVs. Now that's I believe those are covered under that question mark. Someone want to chime in? Phone a friend?
Sorry, what was, yes.
Side by side?
The answer is yes. Yeah, because they're titled, well, yes.
Yeah, so the ORV is a motor vehicle, and so those would be titled in the same way you do today for vehicles. I don't think we listed a VIN in the demonstration, but they have a 17-digit, well, at least the current ones have a 17-digit VIN. Again, question about access forms, question about UCC. There isn't a fee for enrollment. There's the fee only if you're releasing and adding liens. So it's the same fee that applies today. So if you do a title application today, the customers, charge $16 for a title application with a lien. So that's the customer obviously pays that. If it's done at a bank, if it's done at a dealership, obviously the dealership is including that in the financing. So unless it's a cash deal. Used vehicles have paper title. We were applying for a duplicate title or. So any transaction for a financial institution after they have been put on system. So let's say I get my lien holder ID in June and I do any title applications on a used vehicle or a new vehicle after I have my lien holder ID and I provide that every time I do a title transaction or have it done for me at a dealership or by a casual sale, that paper title would convert to electronic. Again, it's all contingent upon having that lien holder ID number provided at title application. How long do the access forms last? Do they expire or need to be refiled after a period of time? We'll write that one down. I don't know the answer to that one. Kelly Leonard. Question about walk through a paper private sale transaction today. So today, if I walk in with a paper title, I have the paper lien release, or it's been signed on the actual title by the financial institution. When I transfer that vehicle to the new owner, if there is a lien holder, then that lien holder would provide their lien holder ID, and that title application, that paper would convert to electronic. Are there other options to get the title when mailing? Vicky Denbor. Like I said, there is an option to. Oh, I think Dave responded to that one. Once lien is released, the system automatically generates the title to be mailed. An option to change address. think I walked through the casual sale one. Try to make sure I answered everything here. Can a borrower who plans to sell a vehicle request a paper title with the lien ahead of selling? So the answer is going to be, Dave wrote no, because the way we envision these narrow set of circumstances where we start printing titles with liens is a situation where they have to have paper because it becomes very difficult for the customer. So the best example we've heard from other states and are gonna sort of use as the prime example is I move out of state and it becomes very difficult then to transfer to the new state. Well, I have an electronic lien, but I don't have a title, but I need the title to get my vehicle registered and then retailed in that other state. Producing the paper is one of those options. Obviously, what we don't want to see happen is we go through this process of trying to weed out fraud opportunity by having paper on the ground, which can be released with a fraudulent lien release. We don't want to see financial institutions just start allowing individuals to get a paper title. And that's one of the pieces here that I think maybe, I don't know if it was as clear as it could be, but in order for the customer to get a paper title while there's a lien, the financial institution has to approve it. It's not just something where I go to the Secretary of State and say, I want the paper title with the lien. So it's going to be sort of on the financial institution to authorize, yeah, we can release paper while still retaining the lien on the face of the title. Will this affect title application fee that is currently charged? Yeah, so today I think I covered this. It's $15 for title. It's $16 if you're getting a lien. So there's $1 for the lien, and that's current today.
James, I have quite a few questions that came into my email, and you may address them, so I'll just kind of start reading them off.
Okay.
How do we add a second lien holder? Do we have to contact the first lien holder in order to add the second?
Let me get an answer just so, I mean, I think I have it in my mind, the right answer, but I don't want to be off. But there is a process by adding another lien.
Okay. So this allows for vehicles and boats. What about trailers or other titled items?
I think I covered trailers and motorcycles, ORVs. I didn't cover, and I said mobile homes at this time are not part of the system, and snowmobiles and mopeds, since they don't have titles, are not part of the system.
Okay. If we choose physical address on title versus mailing address, will any mailings to the bank still come to the mailing address?
And what do you mean by other mailings?
Will any mailings to the bank still come to the mailing?
Do we have like a mail to address? Like that part I don't off the top of my head on
Okay.
the application
I'll ask for clarification on that. I assume the account manager can add multiple individuals' access and email addresses for notifications. Is that correct? Can there be more than one account manager?
I'll let the team answer that one if they know it. Ashley, you're on mute.
Yeah, it changes for each stakeholder. So off the top of my head, I do not know if there's multiple, if there can be multiple account managers, but you can add multiple users.
Okay, thank you. If we are paying off another FI with their lien on the title, do we need to wait for that FI to release their lien before we add ours? How does that work?
I think they're, Ashley, do you have that one or?
Can you repeat that? I was trying to follow.
Sure. I could. If we are paying off another financial institution with their lien on the title, do we need to wait for them to release their lien before we add ours? And you're muted. There you go.
Yeah. So, I don't.
That's,
So what they can do is when they're doing the lien release, they can release their lien and then add your lien holder ID in that transaction. So that first transaction that I showed you, or one of the first transactions I showed you with that lien release, there was an option asking if this was a refinance. So the lien holder can select yes, and then enter in the new lien holder's information or lien holder ID, and that way that can just be done in one transaction.
So basically, they would release it, then add the new financial institution.
Yep, and that would be done in all in one transaction.
Now that's for the same owner.
Correct.
Okay, so that's the refinance situation. So they would, I think, David, you want to follow up the second part? Is that what you're going to clarify?
yeah, that's exactly where I was going to go. So there are multiple situations where that question could apply. For a refinance, Ashley's exactly right. It would be viewed as one transaction, and a simultaneous release and new placement would occur. It's a different scenario where there's a transfer of ownership because the release has to occur to allow for the vehicle to be transferred. So there really is no lien replacing the first one. The first one is deleted because there's a transfer of ownership. That lien has to be cleared so that the new purchaser can title in their name.
And that's the paperwork process where you apply the branch and so forth.
Okay, lots of questions about getting copies of the slides. Will you make those available to us that we can send those out? That's great. So everyone that can hear me, I'll type this into the chat as well. We'll send the slides out along with the recording. And I have been capturing, capturing the chat. So a lot of the questions were answered there as well. So.
And one of the things I would say, we're trying to think about the different entities that are going to use this. So obviously we provided a different presentation to dealers, a similar presentation to credit unions. We'll be providing like a slightly different presentation to the service provider community. I think I put that in the chat. And our goal is that we'll have recordings for each of the different types so that we'll be able to see it. What we've been thinking, obviously you're going to put yours up, but that we'll have it sort of as a hidden YouTube video on our webpage, our site for the YouTube, and so that we can share that with the different associations, and they can share it with their members, because obviously it's not, at least as I understand it, easily searchable, right? Because they're kind of hidden behind the. I'm not a YouTuber, so I don't know. We're also looking at sort of putting together sort of some general informational pieces so that if you got to a page and you seem confused, you understand what those different tabs do. I don't want to say like a training manual or anything like that, but more sort of like informational material related to the slide types depending on user. So just saying that out loud, because I know we've had requests for training, and obviously walking through it's pretty simple. I think what we're initially focusing on is trying to make sure that you guys who are going to use it can understand what each tab is for and what information is provided in those tabs and what we're looking for.
Excellent, thank you. Well, if there aren't any more questions that come in, I want to thank you all, James, David, Ashley, we appreciate you. I want to introduce my colleague real quick, Jill Verschure. She's going to tell you a little bit about DealerTrack.
Good morning. Thank you. I will be very quick. Appreciate all your participation. In September 2016, we endorsed DealerTrack, Cox Automotive. If you are interested in using a third party, the state of Michigan, of course, has stated that DealerTrack is one of their approved vendors. And we are going to bring you a specific training on their services very soon. So more to come on that. Just we went through the due diligence already, and we feel very strongly about their services. So wanted to bring that information to you. Thank you, Stephanie, and I'll hand it back over to you.
Thank you. All right, well, look for the email from us. We'll send the recording. We'll send a copy of the slides, and I've been capturing the chat. Please reach out if you have any questions. But again, Ashley, James, David, appreciate you, and Debbie and Jill. And everyone have a great day. Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you, guys.
Our pleasure. Thank you.